Hey guys, how's it going? And girls, welcome back. Canadian Firearm Safety course. Congratulations, you passed. Yay! So what's next? All right. Well, now that you've done that part and you've passed, you're going to get one of these forms from your instructor that tells you what's next. And basically, it's called the hurry up and wait game. What's going to happen here is when you're done your practical test, which is your last portion of your course, um, you're going to be signing and filling out some paperwork with your instructor, and there will be 4 copies, 1 original, 3 copies of that original, obviously. Now, these are going to be sent off along with your actual test scores, etc., okay, to your local CFO office, all right? Ours is in Aurelia because I'm in Ontario, okay? And it's going to take a few weeks to get it back, okay? Now, Hunter regulations say 4 to 6 weeks, but I mean, that can vary. It depends on their workload, the mail system, how fast the mail gets it to Aurelia from wherever area you're at in Ontario, and of course, whatever province you're at, and whatever CFO deals with you, whatever, okay? So it's going to take a little bit regardless. So you're going to be playing a bit of a waiting game, which means, well, you have nothing to do. Well, that's not entirely true. That's what this paper is for, because if you are 18 years of age or older, because I have no idea how they deal with minors' PAL licenses, you're going to go to this link down here and you're going to download the PAL application. Okay? You can actually apply online, but for that you're going to definitely have to make sure all your paperwork is together, everything's ready to go, and you're going to have your photo and all that other jazz. You can do that online, which does speed up the process apparently. I don't know by how much, but apparently it does. But no matter which way you look at it, you're still at 28-day holding period where they don't actually do anything with it, okay? And if you mail your stuff in snail mail, well, in Ontario, we're sending our stuff to the RCMP in New Brunswick, okay? That's going to take a couple weeks to get there, okay? And so I'm going to recommend, also because we do have an upcoming possible postal strike starting tomorrow, and it probably is going to disrupt Christmas and everything else. And if you just finished your test and you're looking at this video, and you've got this already, you've got your application, all that ready to go, you're going to want to actually use companies like Perlator, UPS, FedEx, whoever you need to use for a delivery company that has nothing to do with Canada Post, because Canada Post goes on strike. Canada Post ain't going to be moving any mail, okay? So you need a courier, and you can ship it to them, okay? Because I actually asked about that when I called in. I said, can I ship this to you like via Perlator or something? Because they knew about the upcoming strike too, which is going to cause problems, right? And there's nothing worse than getting a bunch of calls from people. What's the status? Have you got my stuff yet? No. Well, that's because you snail mailed it in the middle of a strike or the starting of a strike. Well, you're going to wait. So either do it online once everything is together, or ship it into them, which is very fast. I got lucky because of my timing. I did my course in October. Can't remember the exact date. I have to go back and check the exact date on the calendar. But anyways, it doesn't matter. Point is, I had my paperwork back from the CFO very quickly, okay? We were just into the 3rd week, and it's like, mail! Yay! Kevin got his paperwork! Yes! Okay. So in the meantime, I had downloaded the form, and I filled out all the paperwork, all my references, answered the yes or no questions on there, did all my jazz there. Everything is solid and ready to go. One of these copies you will keep for yourself. You'll only get back 2, by the way, because 1 copy they will send to your instructor, 1 copy stays with the CFO office, and then you get 2 copies. Now, all 4 of them are exactly the same, so there's no mixing anything up. Okay, so in other words, down on the bottom of this page, it's going to tell you about the copies. Okay, this is what I want to help you out with in case you get confused, like I was. Copy number 1, student copy for submission with firearms license application. Copy number 2, processing site. Copy number 3, the instructor. Copy number 4, the CFO. And the CFO will stamp all 4 copies. And so independently, because you get an original stamp on each copy, because you have to, okay? Now, the actual, all 4 of them are all the exact same thing, because you started on page 1, got filled out with a pen, and it just makes copies all the way down, okay? It's just the way it works. So, anyhow, so it doesn't matter. There is no order in which these things are 1, 2, 3, or 4. It just says page 101 on the bottom, and that's it, okay? So you keep one of them for you, for your records. And by the way, that has a magic bean to it, which we'll talk about. So it's to your benefit. Now, the other copy, of course, goes along with your PAL application, your payment information or form of payment, in which you will need to call the RCMP, because on the form they do say credit card. They don't say anything about Visa debit that I recall anyways, which is the same as a credit card, but verify that first, okay? I don't know if they take money orders or any of that sort of thing. You'll have to ask them for the payment thing and how you're going to do that, especially if you're mailing this in, or in this case, don't mail it in, ship it by a courier, because it'll be there like 9 a.m. next day delivery, or however you choose to do that service, to get it to them fast. This way they're guaranteed they're getting it, strike or no strike, okay? And then the waiting time starts, okay? Your file will sit for 28 days. Now that is 28 business days, okay? So 5-day weeks, right? So that's the way it works. Now, with that, once the 28 days is expired, then they open up your paperwork and they start contacting references. You'll have to have 2 main references that known you for a minimum of 3 years or more. Can be anybody, okay? And of course, if you have a spouse, husband, wife, common law, doesn't matter. You're living with a person that is your spouse, then there is a spot on the paperwork for them to fill out, okay? Because they need to also basically give the okay. Yeah, it's all right. You know, he can have a pal, it's fine, okay? Or she can, or whatever, okay? So you need to make sure everything is filled out. Otherwise, anything you miss out on will cause a delay in your application processing process, okay? Now, any questions of those yes or no's, okay? If you're saying no all the way through and it's totally legit, you're being honest, you're definitely no, 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 that's fine. That helps move things along quicker. If you said yes to any one of those questions, they do have a little stipulation there. If you say yes to any of these, it does not mean we're not going to give you a PAL. It does mean that we do have to dig deeper into your history, okay? And we also want a written explanation along with your application as to why you answered yes in that category and what was the issue, okay? So this way they know what they're dealing with. They can proceed from there, okay? Now, let's assume everything goes just peachy cream and fine and gets along, okay? Don't listen to the internet, okay, as far as Google searches. How long does it take me to get from start to finish? I found a website that actually says start to finish, and it is a Canadian firearm website. And they said the entire process, start to finish, including doing your course, they say is like 45 days. And then they'll be shipping out your PAL. And it's like, well, they can't really say that because, well, it could take 4 to 6 weeks just to get back this frickin' paper. So don't be too antsy, okay? Just do your course, get it done, wait for these copies to come to you, keep your one copy for you, the other copy with your other stuff that you need to send to the RCMP in New Brunswick, along with everything else that needs to be in that little packet. Get that off to them ASAP, okay? The faster you do this, the faster things move along, okay? And then once the 28 days has expired, from there you can sign into the RCMP website and you can track to a certain degree where they're at with your application, okay? And then this is if you're curious to what's going on, right? Or you can just sit and wait, and one day the mail will come and, look, I got my PAL! Or maybe you got a denial notice. Who knows, okay? They also may call or email you if they have any issues that need to be straightened out over the phone or via email in regards to your application. That's another thing that could also happen. So, you know, you got to do that too, right? Make sure all your information is there for contact as well. So that all goes through smoothly for you. Because you never know. I mean, some people, they fill out stuff and they just forget. Or if it doesn't apply to them, they don't even bother. Like those questions of yes or no. If none of those even apply to you, then you're supposed to go no, 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 right? But if any do, you got to circle the ones that are, and then circle the ones that aren't, okay? And the ones that are applicable, because you should know your own past better than anybody, okay? Especially even as an adult. But either way, the questions are specific to a certain point. Fill it out to the best of your knowledge and ability. If you do say yes, like I said, you have to give them a written explanation along with your application, okay? Now, when you do all this and you've got everything together, you can apply online for your PAL, or you can, which does apparently make things go a little quicker, or you can mail it out, but like I said, don't, because, yeah, if we get our strike starting tomorrow, Lord knows when the mail's going to happen again. So I would just say ship it out by a courier. It cost me $28 through Canada Post to have it done within 3 business days. So I was way ahead of the strike time that's possible to happen. So that wasn't a big deal. And I do have verification that they have received it. It was delivered. So that part at least is good to go. Now I just sit and wait and see what happens, right? That's all you can do. So in the meantime, while you are waiting to see what happens, if you feel that there should not be any problems with your PAL coming to you, then if you want to, go online and look up, you know, different types of guns that you're interested in. Now, just remember, a PAL only covers unrestricted rifles, okay? An RPAL is for pistols, and right now in Canada, you cannot buy, sell, or trade any pistols if you have an RPAL. And you can still take the RPAL course. There are a lot of instructors still offering it. In fact, even on YouTube, they're encouraging you to do so if you want your RPAL, because the government left a little hole open for us, and that's it. If we have a friend or something that has their RPAL, and they obviously are going to have pistols and maybe even some restricted rifles, you'll be able to join a gun club, and you will be able to borrow those from your friend for a limited space window, and you can try all his or her toys out and see what you like from there, okay, as far as the RPAL goes. And you should join a gun club anyways, even with an unrestricted only PAL, because you're going to need to sight in your guns. Not everybody lives in the country where you can go plinky crazy all day, you know, nor do we all have the advantage of, you know, 100 yards accessible to us for sighting in guns. So it does pay to actually join a gun club, okay? And there are other benefits to joining gun clubs too. You meet a lot of new people, you get, you know, more socializing with other firearms owners, that sort of thing, okay? Anyhow, so yeah, just chop around online, build a favorites list. I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing right now, and every gun I find that twigs my berries, I just go on YouTube and I research it. I go on forums and I research it because I'm looking at reliability factors versus cost and, you know, that sort of thing, because I don't want to buy something that, you know, because I know I'm never going to spend this kind of money, but something costs about $1,600, okay? If I'm going to spend $1,600, I want to know that that is a well-known, good, reliable gun, but also the brand and model. And I also want to know what I'm in for when failures do happen, what could fail on that gun. And that determines whether or not I'm really going to be interested in the end in that particular firearm, okay? So you got to have something to do while you're waiting to hear back about your PAL, okay, once you've applied for it. So that'll give you something to do. Now, I talked about the magic bean. If you already have your hunting license anyhow, because a lot of us are bow hunters that become firearm owners. In my case, that's where I'm at. I'm a bow hunter first, and so right now I'm hunting deer, for example, and I go out with my buddies and hunt grouse, which, by the way, really sucks with a bow to hunt grouse. It's very difficult to hit those suckers, and you don't want to shoot them when they're in the air, because if you miss, which you likely will a lot, you don't know where that arrow is going to land or into what, you know, person or otherwise. So you want to shoot them on the ground level, right? Well, that's very difficult to do, okay, for ground level shooting with a bow. However, this is where the magic bean comes in. Now, in Ontario, because every province is different on how they handle their regulations on this one, okay, as of 2024 to spring of 2025, okay? Because 2023, the regulations were a little different. Somebody had wrote on an FAQ, a conservation officer get back and said, yes, each one of you can carry a gun. Now, the person who does not have their PAL, as long as they have this paperwork on them, they can carry a gun. Yes, you can loan them a gun while you're out hunting, and they can utilize that gun, okay? Now, that is still at the discretion of the conservation officer, regardless, apparently, even under these regulations. It's a hard one to deal with. It's kind of, it depends. In Ontario, though, they put the screws to us, and this year, and to spring of 2025, the regulations so stipulate that if you do not hold a valid firearm license, like a PAL, a full PAL, and you are out hunting with people that do, okay, you can only share a gun. So in other words, I'm out with 2 or more of my friends, one of them can share their gun by saying, okay, here, I'm going to pass you my gun so you can take a shot at Bambi or Bucky or whatever you got a big game tag for. But you got to make sure you got all your paperwork with you too, by the way, okay? So, or you're going to go grouse hunting, for example, okay? My one buddy's really huge into grouse hunting, okay? So he can pass me his shotgun so I can take the shot, but then once I'm done, I pass him the gun back, okay? I cannot continue to just walk everywhere in the forest with him and having me carry the gun. That is not permitted. It is called a temporary switchover, okay? It's sharing the gun with one other person, okay? So you cannot have a full-time carry of a friend's gun. Like last year, this conservation officer said, yeah, it's not a problem. You can, you know, because the gun doesn't belong to the person that's not holding the PAL, it belongs to the person that does. So if they've got a spare shotgun, yeah, they can bring it with them, and that person that just has the accreditation paper can actually use that firearm and walk around in the bush. As long as you two stay together, that's all that matters. You have to stay within arm's reach of that person that's you have that gun borrowed. You can't just go off on your own, because if you do get stopped by a conservation officer and you are on your own and you have a firearm, that puts you in illegal possession of a firearm even with this. So be careful on that one. It's a pretty dicey road to travel, but at least this has that little magic bean to it while you're waiting to hear back about your actual PAL, okay? And I'm also thinking that if you, for some reason, do not get your PAL, okay, at all, I'm pretty sure this would be invalidated at that point, okay? Even though you do have the accreditation and you've passed, I think this probably would get invalidated if you did not end up getting your actual PAL in the end. So I don't know. I can't tell you the answer to that one, okay? But download the 2024 /2025 hunting regulations for Ontario if you live in Ontario, whatever area you live in, because we don't all have the same exact rules for hunting regulations in different provinces, okay? So just keep that in mind too. So I don't know where you're from, but I'm in Ontario, and that's the stuff I got to follow under. I am going to do a hunting regulations video though, because I think it's very important, because I did make another really nasty change, especially for the air gun community, that we need to discuss so that you are doing things correctly with that, because they made a real bad mess of that one for the non-PAL people anyways. So, but we'll talk about all that anyways in another video. In the meantime, this is where we're at. This is what we do. This is what's next after you've passed your PAL. And once again, congratulations. That's awesome. I passed with a 98% on each. And so I gave myself a little pat on the back. Okay, that was awesome. And now I'm just going to sit here and wait for my PAL to show up. But in the meantime, I got to go hunt down a buck with a bow. So I'll catch you guys in the next video, okay? See ya.